Princess Yelvani stood alone in the viewing chamber of her ship. Her pale violet fingers pressed against the cold glass as she watched the blue planet grow larger. Earth, the home of humans. She had heard stories about them since she was a small child. Her teachers told her that humans were dangerous. They said humans were wild and strange. They said humans felt too much. The Sithrani people did not feel things the way other species did. They had learned long ago to push away their emotions. Feelings were seen as weakness. Feelings made you slow. Feelings made you make bad choices. So the Sithrani became cold. They became logical. They became perfect in their silence. Yelvani was not perfect. She was the seventh daughter of Emperor Kael'thos. She was the quiet one, the shy one. The one who jumped at loud sounds and preferred to read alone in her room. Her older sisters were strong and brave. They commanded fleets and conquered worlds. Yelvani could barely speak to strangers without her voice shaking. That was why she had been chosen for this mission. The Sithran Empire wanted to make peace with the humans, but they did not trust them. They needed to send someone to Earth to begin talks. Someone important enough to show respect, but not important enough to matter if things went wrong. Yelvani was that someone. If the humans hurt her or killed her, the Empire would not lose much. She was just the seventh princess. She was replaceable. She knew this. She had accepted it. But standing here now, watching Earth grow closer, she felt something tight and cold in her chest. It was fear. She was not supposed to feel fear, but she did. The door behind her opened with a soft hiss. Commander Veltris walked in. He was tall and strong, with silver eyes that showed nothing. He was her guard on this mission. He was supposed to protect her. But Yelvani knew that his real job was to watch her, to make sure she did not embarrass the Empire. "Your Highness," he said. His voice was flat like always. "The human ship has made contact. They are sending one representative to our vessel. His name is Danny Cole." Yelvani's hearts beat faster. She had two hearts, like all Sithrani. Usually they beat in a slow, steady rhythm. But now they were racing, one human, coming here, to her ship. "Just one?" she asked quietly. "That is what was agreed. One human, one meeting. We will see if they can be trusted." Yelvani nodded. She tried to make her face calm and empty like Veltris. But inside, she was shaking. She had seen pictures of humans before. They looked almost like Sithrani in some ways. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But their skin came in many colors, from pale pink to deep brown. Their eyes were strange, too. Not silver like her people. Human eyes were blue, green, brown, and many other colors. And they moved. They showed feelings. When humans were happy, their eyes seemed to glow. When they were sad, their eyes became wet with water. The Sithrani found this disturbing. Eyes should not show what you feel inside. Eyes should be still and calm like mirrors. Yelvani walked slowly to the meeting room. Her long silver dress made soft sounds against the floor. She sat in the chair that had been prepared for her. It was tall and stiff, designed to make her look important. She did not feel important. She felt small and scared. Veltris stood behind her like a statue. Other guards lined the walls. Everyone was silent. Everyone was still. The only sound was the soft hum of the ship. Then the door opened. The human walked in. He was taller than she expected. His hair was dark and messy, falling across his forehead in a way that would never be allowed on a Sithrani ship. His skin was a warm brown color, like wood or earth. He wore simple clothes, not fancy like her dress. And he was smiling. Yelvani had never seen anyone smile like that. It was not a small, polite movement of the lips. It was a big smile that seemed to take over his whole face. His cheeks moved up. His eyes became smaller and somehow brighter. It changed everything about how he looked. "Princess Yelvani," he said. His voice was warm, too. It reminded her of something, but she did not know what. Maybe the feeling of sunlight on her skin. "It is really nice to meet you. I am Danny. Danny Cole. I am going to be helping you understand humans during your visit." He stepped forward and put out his hand toward her. Yelvani stared at it. She did not know what he wanted. Was he asking for something? Was this a threat? Veltris moved forward quickly, his hand going to his weapon. But Danny did not seem scared. He just lowered his hand and kept smiling. "Sorry about that," Danny said. "Handshakes are a human thing. We touch hands when we meet someone new. It is an old tradition. It comes from a long time ago when we wanted to show that we were not holding weapons. Touching hands means we come in peace." "You touch strangers," Yelvani said softly. "When you first meet them?" "Yes. Sometimes we even hug people we just met, if we feel a connection with them." He laughed. It was a strange sound, like bubbles rising through water. "But do not worry, I will not hug you, not unless you want me to, which you probably do not. I am talking too much. I always talk too much when I am nervous." Yelvani looked at him carefully. "You are nervous?" "Oh, yes. Very nervous. Actually, I am kind of terrified." He rubbed the back of his neck with his hand. "You are a real princess. From another planet. And I am just a regular guy from a place called Ohio. I studied alien languages because I always thought aliens were amazing. And now here I am, meeting one. This is the biggest moment of my whole life. I am really scared I am going to mess it up." Yelvani did not understand everything he said. She did not know what Ohio was. But something about his words made her feel strange. The tight feeling in her chest became a little looser. He was scared, too. She had never met anyone who talked about their fear so openly. Sithrani would never admit to being scared. It would be shameful, weak. But this human just said it like it was nothing. Like it was normal to be afraid. Maybe it was normal. Maybe she had been taught wrong about fear. She looked at Danny Cole with his messy hair and his big smile and his nervous eyes. He was strange. He was confusing. He was everything she had been told to be careful of. But for the first time since this mission began, Yelvani did not feel quite so alone. The days that followed were unlike anything Yelvani had ever known. Danny Cole was assigned to stay on the Sithrani ship as a guest. He was supposed to help the princess learn about human ways before she visited Earth. Every day they met and talked. Every day, Yelvani found herself more and more confused by this strange creature. Danny talked constantly. He talked about his home, a place called Ohio, that seemed to be covered in farms and green fields. He talked about his family. He talked about food and music and something called movies. He asked her questions too, endless questions about her life, her world, her people. No one had ever asked Yelvani so many questions before. At first, Commander Veltris stayed in the room during their meetings. He stood in the corner like a shadow, watching Danny with cold eyes. But after a few days, he seemed to decide that the human was not a threat. He began to wait outside instead. This made Danny happy. "Your guard is kind of scary," Danny said one morning. "He looks at me like he is trying to figure out the best way to take me apart." "He is doing his job," Yelvani replied. "He is protecting me." "From me?" Danny laughed. "I could not hurt anyone if I tried. I am terrible at fighting. One time I got into a fight in school and I ended up apologizing to the guy who punched me." Yelvani tilted her head. "Why would you apologize to someone who hurt you?" "I do not know. I felt bad for making him angry, I guess. Humans are weird like that. We feel guilty about everything, even stuff that is not our fault." She did not understand. But she was beginning to accept that there were many things about humans she would never understand. One afternoon, Danny asked if he could show her something. He led her through the ship to a small room near the living quarters. When the door opened, Yelvani stopped and stared. The room was filled with plants, real plants, green and growing, reaching up toward lights on the ceiling. There were flowers in colors she had never seen before, red and yellow and purple and white. There was soil in containers, dark and rich. The air smelled different here. It smelled alive. The human crew started this garden during long trips, Danny explained. Being in space can be hard. Having something green and growing helps us feel connected to home. He walked to a small plant with purple flowers. He knelt down beside it and touched the soft petals with his fingers. His touch was gentle, careful, like he was afraid of hurting something so small. "This one is called a violet," he said. "It reminds me of home. My mom used to grow these in our backyard. She loved flowers. She said they were proof that beautiful things could grow anywhere, even in hard places." Yelvani stepped closer. "Your mother. You speak of her often." "Yeah." Danny's voice became quieter. "I miss her a lot." "Where is she now?" Danny was silent for a moment. When he looked up, Yelvani saw something strange. His eyes were wet. There was water in them. Not much, just a thin layer that made them shine. "She died," he said, 3 years ago. She got sick. Cancer, it is called. The doctors tried to help her, but it was too late. She was only 52. Yelvani did not know what to say. Death was not something Sithrani talked about. When someone died, their name was simply removed from records. Life moved on. There was no crying, no mourning. It was considered pointless to grieve for what could not be changed. But Danny was grieving. She could see it in his wet eyes, in the way his shoulders bent forward, in how his voice shook just a little. "I am sorry," she said. The words felt strange in her mouth. She had never said them before, but she meant them. "Thanks." Danny wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "You know what I miss most? Her hugs. She gave the best hugs in the whole world. When she hugged you, everything felt okay. Like nothing bad could ever happen as long as she was holding you." Yelvani tried to picture it. Being held by someone. Feeling safe because of another person's arms around you. The Sithrani did not hug. They did not touch except when necessary. Physical contact was for doctors and for making children. The idea of touching someone just to make them feel better was very strange to her. And yet standing in this small garden with Danny and his purple flowers and his wet eyes, she wondered what it would feel like. To be held, to feel safe. "Humans touch each other a lot," she said carefully. "It seems important to you." "It is," Danny agreed. "Touch is how we show love, how we show support. When someone is sad, we hold them. When someone is happy, we hug them. When someone is scared, we take their hand." He looked at her with those strange, warm eyes. "Do the Sithrani really never touch?" "No, never. It is not our way." "That sounds lonely." Lonely. Yelvani had never thought about it that way. She had been alone her whole life. In a palace full of people, she had always been alone. She thought that was normal. She thought everyone felt that way. Maybe they did not. That night, Yelvani lay in her bed and could not sleep. She pressed her hand against her chest and felt her 2 hearts beating. They were not beating in their normal, slow rhythm. They were fast and uneven. Her skin felt warm. Her thoughts kept returning to Danny, to his smile, to his sad eyes when he talked about his mother, to the gentle way he touched the flowers. Something was happening to her. Something she did not have a name for. It was like a door opening inside her chest, a door she had not known was there. She was starting to understand why her people were afraid of humans. Humans did not conquer with weapons or ships. They conquered with something else, with warmth, with laughter, with tears and hugs and purple flowers. They made you feel things. And once you started feeling, Yelvani realized, you could never go back to being cold again. She turned over in bed and closed her eyes. but sleep did not come. Her hearts kept beating their strange new rhythm all through the long night, and when morning came, she found herself counting the minutes until she could see Danny again. 2 weeks passed on the ship. 2 weeks of talking with Danny, 2 weeks of learning about humans and their strange ways, 2 weeks of feeling things Yelvani had never felt before. She learned that humans made art, not useful things, but beautiful things, paintings and songs and stories. Danny showed her pictures on his small computer device. He showed her paintings of sunsets and mountains and faces. He played her music that made her hearts beat faster. He told her stories about heroes and villains and love. Love. That was a word the Sithrani did not use. They had partnerships arranged by families for political reasons. They had duties. But love was something different. Danny tried to explain it to her many times. Love is when you care about someone more than yourself, he said one day. They were sitting in the garden again. It had become their favorite place. It is when you want to be near them all the time, when their happiness makes you happy, when their pain makes you hurt. That sounds inefficient, Yelvani said. Danny laughed. It is. Love is totally inefficient. It makes no logical sense. But it is also the best thing humans have. It is why we keep going. It is why we build and create and dream. Everything good about humanity comes from love. She thought about this for a long time. On her world, people did things because they were told to, because it was their duty, because the empire demanded it. The idea of doing something just because you cared about another person was completely foreign. But sitting here with Danny, watching him smile, hearing him laugh, Yelvani felt something growing inside her, something warm and strange and a little frightening. She did not know if it was love. She did not know what love felt like, but she knew that when Danny was near, her hearts beat differently. When he smiled at her, she wanted to smile back. When he was sad, she wanted to make him feel better. Was that love? Or was it something else? She was afraid to find out. One evening, Danny asked her about her home. He wanted to know about the Sithran Empire, about her family, about her life before this mission. Yelvani hesitated. No one had ever asked her these things. No one had ever seemed interested. My home is cold, she said finally. The palace is very large, many rooms, many halls, many people, but it is quiet. We do not talk unless we must. We do not laugh, we do not cry. We simply exist. That sounds sad, Danny said softly. I did not know it was sad. I thought it was normal. I thought everyone lived that way. She looked down at her hands. I have 6 sisters. They are all older than me. They are strong and smart and important. They lead armies. They rule planets. They make our father proud. And you? I am nothing. I am the 7th daughter, the weak one, the scared one. I cannot lead armies. I cannot speak in front of crowds. I hide in my room and read books about places I will never see. She felt something strange in her throat, a tightness. My father sent me on this mission because I do not matter. If I die, the Empire loses nothing. Danny was quiet for a long moment. When she looked up, his face had changed. He looked angry, but not angry at her, angry for her. That is wrong, he said. His voice was firm. You matter. Every person matters. Your father should not think of you as replaceable. No one is replaceable. But I am not strong like my sisters. There are different kinds of strength. Danny moved closer to her. Being brave is not just about fighting battles. It is about facing things that scare you. It is about being kind when the world is cruel. It is about opening your heart when everyone tells you to keep it closed. You are doing all of those things right now. That takes more courage than any warrior. Yelvani felt the tightness in her throat grow stronger. Her eyes began to sting. She blinked, confused, and felt something wet on her cheek. A tear. She was crying. She touched her face with shaking fingers. This had never happened to her before. Cithrani did not cry. They were not supposed to have tears. "I am broken," she whispered. "Something is wrong with me." "Nothing is wrong with you." Danny reached out slowly, carefully. He touched her hand with his. His skin was so warm, so alive. "You are not broken. You are waking up. You are feeling things for the first time. It is scary, I know. But it is also beautiful." She looked at their hands touching, his brown fingers against her violet ones. It was such a small thing, just skin against skin, but it felt like the most important moment of her life. "Why are you being so kind to me?" she asked. Danny smiled, that warm, bright smile that made everything feel better. "Because you deserve kindness, because you are a good person who has been told her whole life that she is not good enough. Someone needs to tell you the truth. You are enough. You are more than enough." Yelvani did not know what to say. She had never received a compliment before. Not a real one. Not one that seemed to come from the heart. She turned her hand over and held Danny's. It was the first time she had ever held anyone's hand. His fingers were bigger than hers, stronger, but his grip was gentle. She could feel his heartbeat through his palm, just one heart, beating steady and strong. They sat like that for a long time, not speaking, just holding hands in the garden full of flowers. Outside the windows, stars moved slowly past. The universe continued on its endless journey, but in that small room, something had changed forever. Yelvani was no longer the cold princess from a cold world. She was something new, something she did not have a name for yet. But whatever it was, she knew that Danny had helped her become it, and she knew, deep in both her hearts, that she never wanted to go back to being cold again. The welcome ceremony on Earth was supposed to be a celebration. Hundreds of humans and Cithrani gathered in a great hall to mark the beginning of peace between their peoples. There were lights and music and important speeches. Yelvani stood on a platform beside Commander Veltris, wearing her finest silver dress, trying not to look as scared as she felt. Danny was somewhere in the crowd below. She kept looking for his face. When she finally found him, he smiled and gave her a small wave. It helped a little. Not much, but a little. The human leader was speaking. She was a tall woman with gray hair and a kind voice. She talked about friendship and cooperation and hope for the future. Yelvani tried to listen, but her hearts were beating too fast. Too many people. Too many eyes watching her. She felt like she might fall apart. Then the lights went out. For a moment, everything was dark and silent. Then the screaming started. Plasma fire lit up the room in bursts of blue and white. People ran in every direction. Bodies fell. Yelvani could not understand what was happening. Her mind went blank with terror. Commander Veltris grabbed her arm and pulled her toward a door. "Purists!" he shouted over the noise. "Cithrani purists! They have come to stop the Alliance!" Purists. Yelvani had heard of them. They were Cithrani who believed that contact with emotional species was poison. They thought humans would infect the Empire with their feelings. They wanted to keep the Cithrani pure and cold forever, and they were willing to kill to make it happen. Veltris pushed her through the door and into a hallway. More guards were there, fighting against attackers in black masks. Plasma bolts flew everywhere. One of the guards fell, then another. "Run!" Veltris commanded. "Get to the emergency shuttle." "I will hold them, but you will die." "My duty is to protect you. Go, now!" He turned and fired at the attackers. Yelvani ran. She ran through hallways she did not know, past doors she did not recognize. The sounds of battle echoed behind her. Her dress tore on something sharp. Her feet hurt. Her lungs burned, but she kept running. She turned a corner and found herself facing 3 attackers. They were Sithrani like her. Their eyes were silver and cold. One of them raised a weapon and pointed it at her chest. "The 7th princess," he said. "The traitor who holds hands with humans. You will be an example to others who forget their place." HFY could not move, could not speak, could not breathe. This was how she would die. Alone in a hallway, killed by her own people. Then something hit the attacker from behind. It was Danny. He had come out of nowhere, running full speed, and crashed into the attacker's back. They both fell to the ground. The weapon flew from the attacker's hand. Danny scrambled to grab it, but the other 2 attackers turned toward him. "Danny, no!" HFY screamed. Danny got the weapon. He was not a soldier. He did not know how to fight, but he fired anyway, wild and desperate. One shot hit an attacker in the leg. The attacker went down. The 3rd one fired at Danny. The bolt grazed his arm. He cried out in pain but did not stop. He kept firing until all 3 attackers were on the ground. Then he grabbed HFY's hand and pulled her forward. "Come on," he said. Blood was running down his arm. His face was pale and covered in sweat, but his grip on her hand was strong. "We need to move. You are hurt. I will be fine. Right now, we need to get you somewhere safe." They ran together through the building. Danny seemed to know where he was going. Maybe he had studied the maps. Maybe he was just lucky. HFY did not care. She just held his hand and followed him. They heard more fighting behind them, more screams. But Danny did not stop. He pulled her through door after door, downstairs, through rooms full of broken furniture and shattered glass. His hand never let go of hers. Finally, they reached a small room with heavy metal doors. Danny pushed HFY inside and closed the doors behind them. The room was some kind of safe space. The walls were thick. No sounds came through from outside. They were alone. Danny leaned against the wall and slid down until he was sitting on the floor. His whole body was shaking. The wound on his arm looked bad. Blood was soaking through his torn sleeve. HFY knelt beside him. She tore a strip from her expensive dress and wrapped it around his arm as tight as she could. Her hands were shaking, too. "You came for me," she said. "You could have died." "I know." Danny managed a weak smile. "Stupid, right?" "Why? Why would you risk your life for me?" Danny looked at her with those warm brown eyes. Even now, even hurt and scared, they were warm. "Because you matter," he said simply. "Because I care about you. Because the thought of losing you hurt more than any weapon ever could." Something broke inside HFY. All the walls she had built around herself, all the cold silence, all the years of being told not to feel, it all crumbled away in a single moment. She moved forward and wrapped her arms around Danny. It was clumsy. She had never hugged anyone before. She did not know where to put her arms or how tight to hold. But she needed to hold him. She needed to feel that he was real, that he was alive, that he was here with her. Danny's arms came around her too. He held her gently, one hand resting on the back of her head. He made soft sounds, shushing sounds, soothing sounds. "It is okay," he murmured. "You are safe now. I have got you." HFY pressed her face against his chest. She could hear his heart beating. Just one heart, but it was beating for her, because of her. She felt water on her face again. Tears, more tears than before. They came like a flood, and she could not stop them. She did not want to stop them. For the first time in her life, HFY let herself feel everything, all the fear and loneliness and sadness she had kept hidden for so long. It came pouring out in tears and shaking breaths and sounds she had never made before. And through it all, Danny held her. He held her until the tears stopped. He held her until help arrived. He held her like she was the most important thing in the universe. And in that moment, she finally understood what love meant. The attack failed, The purists were captured or killed. The alliance between humans and Sithrani was saved, though barely. Many people had died. The beautiful hall was destroyed. But the peace would continue. Yelvani spent 3 days in a human hospital while doctors treated her minor injuries. Danny was in the room next to her. His arm wound was worse than she had thought. But the human doctors said he would heal completely. She visited him every few hours just to see his face, just to make sure he was still there. On the 4th day, her father arrived. Emperor Kelthos came to Earth with a fleet of 20 ships. He came to apologize for the attack and to punish those responsible. But Yelvani knew he also came for another reason. He came for her. She was sitting in the garden when he found her. It was a different garden, one on the human base, but it had flowers just like the one on the ship. Danny sat beside her. They were not holding hands, but they were close. Their shoulders were almost touching. The Emperor walked in slowly. He was very old. His skin was darker violet than Yelvani's, and his silver eyes were cold as ice. He was tall and thin, and he moved like a shadow. Behind him came 10 guards in black armor. They looked like death itself. Danny stood up quickly. Yelvani stood too, but more slowly. She kept her chin high. She would not bow. Not today. "Father," she said. The Emperor looked at her for a long moment. His face showed nothing. No love, no anger, no relief that she was alive. Just cold observation. Then he looked at Danny. "This is the human," he said. It was not a question. "Yes," Yelvani replied. "This is Danny Cole. He saved my life. I have read the reports." The Emperor's voice was like a blade made of ice. "I have also read other reports about how you spend your time with this creature, about how you hold his hand, about how you cry now, like some primitive beast." Yelvani felt her hearts beat faster, but she did not look away. "Yes. All of that is true. He has corrupted you." The Emperor took a step forward. "He has infected you with human weakness. You weep. You feel. You have become soft. You have become useless." Danny moved to stand beside Yelvani. His arm was still wrapped in bandages, but he stood tall. "With respect, Your Majesty," he said, "I think you have it wrong." The guards moved forward, but the Emperor raised one hand and they stopped. He looked at Danny with something that might have been interest, or might have been disgust. "Explain yourself, human, before I lose patience." Danny took a breath. Yelvani could see that he was scared, but he spoke anyway. "Yelvani is not weak," he said. "She is the bravest person I have ever met. She came to Earth knowing she might die. She knew her own people saw her as nothing important. But she came anyway. She faced an attack, watched people die around her, and she kept going. She opened herself up to new ideas and new feelings, knowing it would change her forever, knowing her people would judge her for it." He shook his head. "That is not weakness, Your Majesty. That is courage. Real courage. The kind of courage that does not come from weapons or armies, the kind that comes from the heart." The Emperor was silent. His silver eyes showed nothing. Yelvani stepped forward. "Father, I have learned something here, something important. Humans feel everything deeply. They feel love and pain and joy and sadness. They feel it all so strongly that it sometimes seems to break them. But it does not break them. It makes them stronger." She felt tears forming in her eyes again, but she did not wipe them away. Let him see. Let him understand. "Humans turn their pain into art," she continued. "They turn their grief into compassion. They turn their fear into courage. They are not weak because they feel things. They are strong because of it. Their emotions are not a flaw. They are a gift." The Emperor said nothing. "I do not want to go back to being cold," Yelvani said. "I do not want to live in a palace where no one laughs or cries or touches. I want to feel things. I want to love and be loved. I want to be human in all the ways that matter." You would stay here, the Emperor said finally. Among these creatures, you would abandon your people. No, I would learn from humans. I would understand them. And then maybe I could teach our people what I have learned. I could show them that there is another way to live, a warmer way, a better way. She took another step toward her father. The universe is cold, Father. It is dark and empty and cruel. But it does not have to be. Humans have shown me that. They have shown me that even in the darkest places, warmth can exist, love can exist, hope can exist. We just have to be brave enough to let it in. The Emperor looked at his daughter. For a long, long moment, no one spoke. No one moved. The whole room seemed to hold its breath. Then something happened. Something small. So small that Yelvani almost missed it. The corner of her father's mouth moved. Just a tiny bit. Just for a second. Almost like a smile. You have changed, he said quietly. You are not the same girl who left our world. No, Yelvani agreed. I am not. The Emperor turned and walked toward the door. His guards followed. At the door, he stopped and looked back. 1 year, he said. You may stay for 1 year. Learn what you can. Then we will speak again. He left without another word. Yelvani stood frozen. She could not believe what had just happened. 1 year. Her father had given her 1 year. Danny touched her shoulder gently. Are you okay? She turned to look at him. His warm brown eyes, his messy dark hair, his kind, gentle face. Yes, she said, and then she smiled. A real smile, big and bright, taking over her whole face, just like humans did. Danny smiled back. So, he said, I promised to teach you about corn, and baseball, and pizza, and about 100 other things. We have a year. Where do you want to start? Yelvani laughed. It was still a strange sound to her. Strange but wonderful. Like sunshine after a long winter. Like coming home to a place you had never been before. Anywhere, she said. Everywhere. I want to learn it all. She took his hand and held it tight. Outside the window, the sun was rising over Earth. Golden light spread across the sky, painting the clouds in colors she had no words for. It was beautiful. It was warm. It was everything she had never known she needed. And standing there with Danny, holding hands in the morning light, Yelvani finally understood what it meant to be alive. Not just existing. Not just surviving. Living, feeling, loving, being human in all the ways that mattered. The cold princess from the cold world was gone. In her place stood something new, someone new, someone who cried and laughed and felt things so deeply that it sometimes hurt. But that was okay, because it also felt wonderful. And that, she realized, was the greatest gift the humans had given her. Not technology or weapons or power, just the simple, beautiful truth that feeling things was not a weakness to be feared. It was the greatest strength of all,